Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to the third episode of PhotoDope. On this episode we're talking about 6 ways in which camera stores rip you off. Now I've never mentioned this until now, but I've been a photographer for a few years, and I actually got into photography because I worked at 2 large camera stores in New York City for over 5 years. They both had a brick and mortar store, but I worked to support their online presence as a salesperson, customer service, and reputation management, which means that I worked with a lot of buyers, listers, shipping teams, returns departments, and accountants. Basically, I know a lot of the ins and outs of the New York City photo scene, and this video serves as a warning of some of the shadier practices I've encountered. So the first thing I want to cover is warranties. Yes, while warranties do have their place, I think it's generally a way to prey off the fear of consumers that something might go wrong. Though there are a few exceptions, I can't really think of a lot of camera equipment that has had a large failure rate. It wasn't like people were calling up all the time to complain about a faulty 5D Mark III or Nikon D800. Camera equipment's built to last, and while things like lenses may have issues with back or front focusing, chromatic aberrations, lack of sharpness, vignetting, or barrel distortion, many of these things can be solved by a simple adjustment of hardware or software, or in the worst case, an exchange. On top of that, if you're purchasing your item from an authorized dealer in the first place, and we'll get back to this point later, you'll typically be covered for the first year anyway on things like lenses or camera bodies. Now if you're a clumsy person or you routinely drop lenses or take photos in death-defying situations, it could be a good investment, but I'd suggest making sure you invest in a warranty that offers full coverage on these types of incidents. Each warranty differs in coverage based on price or company, so make sure that you know what you're buying into. I have had awkward conversations with people who thought they were covered by their warranty, only to find out their warranty doesn't cover things like water or impact damage. By the way, it was drilled into my head that every customer should be offered a warranty, and oftentimes I charge 2 or 3 times more than the cost of the warranty just because I could. Not all of our warranties were listed online, so there's a lot of room to play with pricing. I once sold a $79 warranty for $200 at the urging of my boss. If you're looking to purchase a warranty, definitely shop around and make sure you're getting a good deal on coverage and price. Now I touched on this subject in the last point, and it's worth bringing up again. Whenever you purchase camera gear, it's important to verify whether or not the vendor you're purchasing from is an authorized dealer for that brand. An authorized dealer has an official relationship with a particular brand, which makes things like warranty coverage very straightforward. You shouldn't have any problems registering that product with the manufacturer for full support. Generally a year on camera and lenses, but they will vary from product to product. Even if you're out of warranty, you may still be able to get your product serviced by the manufacturer for an additional cost. Now, some camera stores offer products that are known as gray market products, which, while genuine, are obtained from other vendors or countries that are typically not produced for sale in your particular country. This means that if there's an issue with your camera body or lens and you go to Canon or Nikon, they can't help you. So, what's the advantage of buying gray market? Well, it usually comes down to price, but it can sometimes be the only way to get an imported good you might want. There are many legitimate businesses that offer the gray market products, and a few even offer their own warranties for these items. The best way to figure out if a merchant is an authorized dealer is to check the manufacturer site. For instance, here's an authorized Nikon dealer list I found on the Nikon website. Now, I've never worked for a place that did this very often, but it did happen occasionally, and I know this sort of thing is an issue in some stores. Though, sometimes there's no intent to deceive, it'll happen because something went out of stock. There have been a few occasions though where I talked to a buyer who had an item listed but was shipping a knockoff item, or even sometimes a really inferior brand of that same item. My suggestion would be to make sure you get what you ordered in the first place. If you have a complaint, contact customer service right away and demand that you've received what you paid for. This takes a little investigation on your part, however, as sometimes things can be listed just vaguely enough to make you think they're authentic, but they're not. Always read an online listing thoroughly. Which reminds me, you know those camera and accessory bundles you see online? Unless they're brand name items, those bundles are typically really cheap stuff that nobody with any proficiency in the photo industry would ever use. All items cost under $1 to make and buy, and they're solely put together as a money-making opportunity. You'll notice that most of the time these items have no brand name attached to them, but they have a perceived value. I used to send this stuff to angry customers all the time because they're basically considered an easy way to make a customer happy, even though they only work half the time and they're not very reliable. By the way, before you purchase anything online, do yourself a favor and make sure you know where your item's coming from. Do your research on that particular company or places like Reseller Ratings, Ripoff Report, Yelp, or your favorite online message board. Be vigilant though, because some company employees do post fake reviews for their employer. I absolutely recommend reading or asking about a company's return policy before you do business with them, and ask them about things like restocking fees, if they cover the cost of any defective items, or what items are ineligible for return. One company I worked for didn't accept returns on any headphones under any condition, while another company just sent replacements out free of charge. Okay, last thing. So let's say despite everything we've covered you get screwed over. You have one last shred of hope, and that's leaving feedback on your purchase. This is not to be overlooked because this is your one bargaining chip in this transaction if things don't go as planned. Companies hate negative feedback, especially if they're in a public forum like Facebook, Yelp, reseller ratings, whatever. So let's say you've received your order, you notice a problem, you contacted customer service, they couldn't help you. This would be the time to leave negative feedback. Keep things classy because in some cases if you use any strong language they can have your comments taken down, which means you'll have no leverage. Negative feedback kills an e-commerce store and people in higher positions know this, so they tend to give customer service a little more power than normal to resolve these issues. I'm not telling you to be a dick about this. They're not going to give you a free $500 lens, but they might help you get a refund, exchange, or even throw a free item your way. But you have to keep up your end of the deal, which is that once this has been resolved, take down your feedback. Well guys, that's it for this episode of PhotoDope. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know if you have any rip-off horror stories, and I'll see you guys next time.